Welcome to another episode of Be Tailored, where today we're going to be tidying up some odds and ends on the Teal 240 again. Now, when I start filming, it's easier for me to get caught up in what I'm doing, so it gets very hard for me to film the processes that I'm trying to finish out because I just want to get the things done, and it's really hard to kind of balance out between filming and actually getting stuff done. So you guys haven't been missing out on much. I think the main thing I've been doing lately is installing the gauges, interior bits and pieces, swapping over hard lines for gas tank from Carroll, which is our old Red 240. Rest in peace. But I figure if I don't get anything more interesting to film by the time I upload next, I might as well give you an update on where the car is at. Now, as far as the engine bay goes, I think mechanically and electrically everything is good to go in the Teal 240 just the way I want it to be. I've tucked all my wires into their specific places. This isn't a wiring tuck at all. Now, when I say tuck, I don't really mean tucking all the wires where you can hide them and make them kind of disappear for a really fresh, nice look. But it is nice to just have all the wires put in place so that everything's not just scrambled everywhere. In other exciting news, we have our ECU back from Martin, who worked his magic on our burnt out ECU. So I didn't get a chance to show you guys what had happened to the ECU, but I'll drop a picture right here so that you can see. Basically what had happened was part of the ECU burnt out, and so I showed Martin, emailed him about it, and asked him, hey, do I need a new ECU? Is this even repairable? What do you think I should do? Luckily, Martin emailed me a couple hours later letting me know to send the ECU back to him so he could repair it, which was great news because that means we didn't have to shell out another $400 for a new ECU and a tune. Martin and his company, RS Enthalpy, is top notch. His customer service is awesome. If I ever have any questions or have any problems that I'm running into, I simply sent him a message describing what's going on, and he lets me know kind of the problems that I should look into. And I highly recommend going to Martin at RS Enthalpy if you're on a budget and looking to get your ECU tuned. He's very knowledgeable about a lot of things Nissan, especially 240s. He has many years of experience doing this stuff, so if you have any tuning needs, even if you have a standalone ECU, I believe he does standalones as well, dyno tunes and whatnot, I highly recommend RS Enthalpy. You cannot go wrong. Some other things I've been trying to finish has been installing my gauges and gauge pods. Not too hard since I kept all the wiring together, but it can be a pain trying to figure out which wires go where and trying to route them back to where they all need to go. Now, as much as I'd like to keep this car stripped and show off its beautiful paint job on the inside, this is a street car, and so I want to dress it up as so, at least in the front half of the car. So I've gone through the trouble of installing all the A-pillar trim, which was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. One of the things I loved and disliked about Carroll was the automatic seatbelts that were in there. Now, maybe some of you guys are familiar with the 80s, 90s technology of automatic seatbelts, which automatically puts your shoulder belt in place for you. Now, the problem with these systems is that sometimes they wear out, they need regreasing, a little maintenance, and they can be kind of a hassle when they don't work. Well, I thought in order to mount the A-pillar trim that I wanted in there, I would have had to take apart this whole disassembly and mount it inside the Teal 240, which is something that I really didn't want to do. Luckily, that wasn't the case. What holds the trim to the car are these removable brackets that you have to undo and install in the car. There's two of them, one in the A-pillar itself and then one on the roof. Now, if I'm not going to be using the factory automatic seatbelt system, then what am I going to be using in place of that inside the Teal 240 since it doesn't have any seatbelts? Well, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'll let your mind kind of wander about that. Even though the car is put back together for the most part mechanically and electrically, there's still a lot of parts that I haven't presented to you guys, so, you know, don't think I'm done yet putting more parts on this thing. Now, because the Teal 240 was missing a lot of pieces, I was able to use Carroll to replace a lot of those parts and make sure everything was sound in here. But a lot of these parts are just extra that I have laying around, and so I'm going to be working on trying to get rid of a lot of this stuff, so if you see anything you like, do let me know because I will be trying to sell it. Usually S13 dashes with heads-up displays are quite desirable, but I've never really been a fan of heads-up displays. I've considered keeping the dash and flocking it, although I may just sell it as is, so let me know if you're interested. Welcome to day 2 of doing odds and ends on the Teal 240. It's been a mixture of wires and cut wires and strip bolts and strip nuts, and it's been a real pain, but you know, it's just part of old cars and project cars, and you just kind of have to prepare your mind for it, get ready for it. What we're doing today is basically clearing up the interior, or at least setting it all in there, finishing up these headlights, and maybe hopefully the taillights, and we'll do the seatbelts on another day. But that's it for now. So although these projector headlights were a really nice surprise when I got the 240, I'm not really having any success trying to get them to turn on, so rather than trying to figure out what's wrong with the wiring on here, I'm just going to install my old glass style headlights. I really like these anyway, they're bright enough for me. At this point I'd really just rather see the car done rather than get any of the cool points going for this thing. So if it drives and it passes inspection, that's good enough for me. It's not the cleanest setup, but at least it's pretty functional. Now that the headlights are done, the next thing I'm going to do is orient the wipers in the correct orientation. Right now they're facing up, we want them down, and all that takes is a couple of 14mm nuts. Now that I have the wipers set up in the correct place, I figure I'd show you what I've been working on as far as the interior goes. It's all slowly coming along. I wanted this to be more or less the same setup as Carol, so you know, it's pretty simple, not too bad. I will say that there's been way too many wires that I've found cut in this car, and this next one I found kind of puzzles me. I'm not sure why the previous owner decided to do this, as I think it serves no really additional function. And those familiar with the chassis know that there's two ways you can open them, either by turning the lights on or simply turning them on manually, like that. Now when I was observing the fuse panel under the kickbox, I found these two aftermarket wires that led to these terminals. I didn't know where the terminals went, but I did notice on the old gauge cluster bezel there's this little aftermarket switch here. And here's me thinking, oh wow, the owner put in some kind of kill switch, or maybe he had some kind of cool NOS system or something like that. This switch right here is like another headlight switch. So essentially you can't manually retract your headlights if you want to unless this button is activated. It serves no purpose, it's not like a sleepy eye mod or anything like that. To me, that extra switch was just a wasteful modification, waste of space, waste of material. Why the previous owner decided to do that, I will have no idea. I'll probably never meet the man or gal who decided to build this car in the first place, but you know, it is a project car and that's what we gotta work with. But hear me out, fellow S chassis owners, please stop cutting the wires in your cars unless you know what you're doing. I definitely have no idea what I'm doing half the time, so that's why I don't cut any wires unless I know 100% what I'm doing and know that that modification that I'm going to do is going to benefit the car. But now I think would be a good time to let you guys hear what the Teal 240 sounds like with a full exhaust on and running for more than a few seconds, so let's fire her up. Well, I think that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I'm sorry it was a little short and I didn't have much for content today. It's just all buttoning up little odds and ends for the 240, all the small stuff that really makes it come together. So nothing exciting, but it's really necessary. If you aren't subscribed, make sure you hit that red button. There's a lot of new parts and stuff that you guys haven't seen that I have yet to unveil to you guys. If you have any comments, suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. I'd love to hear your feedback. Make sure to hit the like button if you guys got anything out of this at all. I'd sure appreciate it. I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.